And we are back. So it's a live stream. So this dropped, I believe, an hour, apparently 4 minutes ago. Apparently, according to my screen, update for Warcry dropped 4 minutes ago. And what better time to do an impromptu stream at 11 o'clock in the morning UK time when no one's online? If you can't make the stream, that's absolutely fine. The VOD is available once this is all done. This is really exciting. Hey, Scammer Studios, I've never clicked on a video faster than this in my life. Yes, man, it's so exciting. Dale, hello, how's it going, man? So this, like I said, this dropped about 4 minutes ago. A massive Warcry update paves the way for the Helmsmiths of Hashut, and this is more or less what I said I hoped would happen in my video talking about Warcry being alive a few months back, where I said the Chaos Dwarfs or the Hellsmiths of Hashut are on the way. We might get an FAQ before then, just to pave the way, and then get the Helmsmiths at a later date. And that's exactly what's happened. And this is so exciting because a lot of I'm not going to read the article, but we've got points updates. We have rules updates, counter changes, Claws of Karanak, Tyrannic Cohort, Twist Wield. These are some of the best looking warbands the game has, and none of them are very good. And they've been changed. Ability changes as well have come into play. So there's new units, a whole bunch of them apparently, and even more. There's more on the way. There's here. Oh, you missed a bunch. There is more on the way. So this is so exciting. This is like the most exciting time for Warcry in at least a year. So let's go to the downloads and look at the new rules update. This is really exciting. So in typical Games Workshop fashion, all the Right, so it appears that the internet is now working once again. I apologize for the drop there. There was an issue with the internet. It's now been fixed. So we are back. I don't know what was cut from that. So basically, I'll go over counter again. Basically, counter big change. Counter is really fucking cool now. As in, it doesn't it doesn't feel bad. They've basically nerfed counter. So in general, you are looking at maybe doing like 3 damage or so, about 3 damage, because you get if you roll a 1, you do 2 damage, and for every 2 misses, you do 1 damage. This is a massive, massive buff to any elf faction, and any faction has a high volume of attacks. Counter has now been gutted, which is really interesting, and I think this will feel better as a whole, as you aren't now punished for rolling badly all the time. You could be doing all the right players, throwing in like a big guy and a small guys, and then just roll a bunch of stuff and get absolutely murdered. Oh no. Additionally, as well, a big thing, if there are any unmodified hit rolls of a 1, allocate it 2. So if you roll a bunch of 1s, you are only taking the 2 damage once. So big change there. Counter is no longer this go-to reaction. I think this is a really positive change for the game, and it will really help elf factions. It doesn't mean that you won't take damage from counter. It just means that counter is no longer, I'm going to throw this out all willy-nilly and try and kill you for a joke. It also pulls back counter control outside of a few very specific factions who can build around counter control with their own reaction that has a counter-like effect. The big one being Casterlight Host. So there is that. I'm just making sure that the actual stream is working. Could chat just confirm that the stream is working? Because I am not getting the actual picture on my screen showing it's working. So if chat could confirm that. I am getting some wild error occurred on one side, but not error occurred on the other side. But I'm going to assume that it's working all fine. I'm going to make that assumption. Excellent. So it's working for everyone. That is good to hear. Also, my chat also disconnected. So I've basically refreshed the whole thing. So we're back. Hello, we're back again. Loads of technical errors. Apparently, Games Workshop doesn't want this video going live, but it's going live. We're gonna persevere through it. So counter, massive change, really good for elf factions who are struggling, really good for anything with lots of attacks. Less oppressive, less mindless, and it refines counter control to a very select group of factions. That is all good. Tyrannic Cohort, the Eyes of Kakatros, remove the sentence that this ability cannot be used more than once per battle round. Massive. This allows the Tyrannic Cohort to actually generate wild dice. Currently, they could do it, but it was very randomized. You got like one roll per turn to actually pull it off. If you didn't generate wild dice, you couldn't do your gimmick. This removes that. Now you can generate wild dice as much as you want, and in addition, if you ally in the Kavalos Centauri into other death factions, he can now spam this as well, which is really, really powerful. Tyrannic Cohort might actually finally be able to use their wild dice gimmick, and that's only a good thing. I'm glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. Hi, Grumpy God, how's it going? Twist Wield. Change the Eruption of Thorns ability to read. Allocate a number of damage points equal to half the value of this ability to each enemy fighter within 1 inch. This is really, really powerful. So they've basically took the wording from the Wrecker, the Brute Wrecker, where it's guaranteed damage within 3 inches, but pulled it all back to 1 inch, but give it to basically everyone. This means that every single, or most, I can't remember if it's everyone, but most of the Twist Wield can now use Eruption of Thorns and do AoE damage that will not miss on a double. This is better than Onslaught almost 100% of the time. Like if you've got like a double 3 or above, you are popping Eruption of Thorns as opposed to Onslaught, and you want your guys to get stuck in against Horde meta. If Horde meta ever comes into play, Twist Wield could actually be the legitimate counter, because you just get in there, you explode with your doubles, and also remember your battle trait causes chip damage too, and all your guys have fairly high attack volume, which means you're cutting through things, but because of the counter change, you're not dying to counter. Really, really cool. So Twist Wield might actually be pretty darn spicy now. The Claws of Karanak. Remove the Agile Rune Mark requirement from the Pack Hunter's ability. So what this means is, from what I can gather, everyone in the warband can use Pack Hunters, which is everyone can make another guy go. But the target still requires Agile, right? So the user, anyone can use it. So the pack lord can use it, all that sort of stuff. Everybody can use it. But it can only affect people with, I think it's Agile still. So this is interesting. It allows for your guys to gang up more effectively. Your pack lord can go in, start swinging, start killing things, and then do basically a very cheap inspiring presence to somebody else, provided that they still have the Agile rune mark and they can go. Bearing in mind, most of your warband has the Agile rune mark. Really big change to Claws of Karanak. Depending if they've got points changes, again, I haven't seen everything yet. Tyrannic Cohort, Twist Wield, and Claws of Karanak, the assumption that they have points changes as well, all three of these factions might become really good, and Pack Hunters, the change to Pack Hunters might seem a bit minor, but if you use Inspiring Presence on the regular, then Pack Hunters might actually be quite a fun time. Pyregeist finally getting a reaction. What is this madness? They've went their entire lives without the reaction. Now they have one. Immolation. A fighter can make this reaction when they are attacked by melee attack action after that damage is total but before it's been allocated. If it's enough to kill you, cremate this fighter. You are now basically making pyre tokens on death. When counter has been nerfed into the ground, you basically want to be using this, right? If you're going to die, use Immolation. Good to go. You can also react to this. I believe you can see the damage first. Yes, so you can react after the damage is told, when it's allocated. So you can react to this after you've seen the result. So when you die, basically, you can react to it. Cremate this fighter. Now, I actually am going to break immersion very momentarily and go to Warcry. Because I want to know what cremate is. Very specifically. Interesting. So, okay. I imagine there's maybe some people being a bit sweaty over this one. So because this happens before you're taken down and before it's allocated you're cremated, being cremated does not actually kill you. You are removed from the battlefield. You are not taken down. Immolation might be an absolute bastard to deal with. Rules as written, potentially. I'll need to look at it a bit more. This is just the first impression. Rules as written, immolation might actually be an absolute dick. Because if you cremate yourself, you don't count as being taken down. Every other instance of cremate has, once you've killed something, cremate. So you have to be dead to cremate. But immolation actually happens before you die. So you don't die, you're just removed. So rules as written, immolation might actually slightly break kill missions. Interesting. The next one is Riverblades. And the double. This is insane. I caught a gander at this part just with a glance, and my god. So basically, you get +1 move, amazing. And then after every action other than wait actions, roll a dice on a 2+, deal 2 damage. They've doubled the damage this deals on a double. So now Riverblades, who have very middling damage stats and very high attack output, are buffed from counter changes and now can run around and do up to 4 damage a turn on a 4 damage activation whilst moving as fast as a rush. Just running around, lobbing these daggers out, doing 2 damage. This could be move throw, attack, throw, attack, throw at someone else over there, throw and kill a guy, attack, throw a dagger at somewhere else, kill that guy. There are so many ways you can pop Riverblade. It was already one of the best value doubles. It wasn't the most impactful, but in terms of its value, it was already amazing. It's now incredible. 2+ to deal 2+ to do 4 damage potentially is insane, and it's not dice value dependent. You are movement 6 when doing it, but that's a lie because Riverblades are actually movement 7 or movement 8 because of that battle trait. So wow, really cool. Again, if Pyregeist and Riverblades get point reductions as well, these are massive buffs to underplayed warbands. These are huge, massive. Going down, we have new units. So we have the new Daughters of Cain Bladeborn. So we have these last look at their stats. They are pretty not great. Stat-wise, they're squishy. Their damage output isn't great. Their attacks aren't great. This guy's bow's not too bad. 2-4-2-4, 15 inches, 130. Kind of like Asfel. Guy's kind of spicy. But what are their abilities? So we have, first thing, they can all do the offerings of Foresight. Roll a number of dice equal to fighter's ability. If any damage points have been allocated to enemy fighters battle round by this fighter's attack actions, add 1 to each roll. For each 4+, you gain 1 prophecy. So we have a token system. So you are generating prophecies. Looking at prophecies, we have this. I heard the novel vampire, but forgot about Drecky Flint. Drecky Flint is never coming into the game. It's never happening, Grumpy. I'm sorry. So we have. So we'll go on to the Wings of Darkness. Remove this fight from the battlefield and set them up again on a platform or battlefield floor, within 9 inches from all enemy fighters. That's quite a distance, so it's not the most effective teleport. If the value of the ability is 3 or more, they can make a bonus move action of 3 inches after they are set up. And that's a double. Wings of Darkness, you can do that. The Wing of the Crone can do that. So any teleport's good. A teleport on a double is outstanding. The restriction is quite large, but it can be reduced back because you can move 3 for free. So the amount of... This is interesting because it allows Creature of the Crone and Daughters of Cain just to be taken as a 100-point teleport target. They can run forward, take treasure, teleport away. They can do all kinds of little things, and this extra move is quite nice too. She's not great in combat, but we will see what happens here with the ritual of the prophecy. This is where our prophecy points come into play from the offerings of foresight, and only Karnavix can do it. Pick one of the following effects to apply to this fighter, then reset your prophecy points to 0. Add your prophecy points to their move characteristic. So, okay, so you're gathering prophecy points on all your guys to basically buff up this lass. Wow. Add up to 6 to your movement. So she goes to movement 11 potentially for the rest of the activation. So that's like uber rush. 22 inches of movement is kind of insane. Add your prophecy points to their toughness characteristic. So go to, again, up to toughness 9. So only Vexmore can effectively damage Karnavix. And alternatively, you can do immediately allocate your prophecy points as evenly as possible between the attack's characteristic, strength, and both values of the damage characteristic of their melee weapon. Add 1 to each for each prophecy point allocated. Okay, so you're gaining attack, strength, and damage. So basically, if you have 6 points, she is going to a 5-5-3-6 for 120 points and, some investment. It's interesting. This is a really fun Blade Board Warband. I think this little prophecy system is a nice little mini game to play with. The effect is not unsubstantial. It's quite a powerful effect. I'm breaking the game. It's quite a powerful effect. The issue is you are spending doubles, and you need a lot of doubles to do it to get maximum value, and then a triple. So ideally, you want like two doubles and a triple to really get the most out of this. On the plus side, though, the prophecy points do last all game. So until you use Ritual of Prophecy, you're stacking points until you use them, right? So you can use it on turn 1, turn 2, and then bam, pop off with this later on. The effect is very powerful. I don't think anyone's going to complain that a 5-5-3-6 profile is not substantial. The issue is just getting rid of combat and surviving. Toughness 3, 20 wounds. Yeah, I think she might die before she can really pop off. But if she can pop off, that's kind of spicy. The toughness isn't that impactful. The movement's very nice, though. But I think ultimately who you're looking for is maybe Asfel for his range attack. It's quite spicy. And the Wings of the Crone within Daughters Arcane, because this gives you a nice range attack. This gives you a nice teleport. And if you want to get a bit spicy, take Carnavix and do some really funky ritual stuff. The Order of Azir. These guys, long forgotten, are back with more dudes. They've added more guys. So those didn't know, Order of Azir started as a Bladeborn faction. So it was just Haskell Hexbane who just had the Order of Azir rune mark, and no one else had it. Then they expanded that to a whole faction. Now they've expanded it even further. So we've got Galen Vendenst, Devalia Vendenst, and Jelson Darok. Galen, as a hero, at 135 points. I believe he's a bit more expensive than Haskell, about 10 points more than Haskell. For worse stats, which is not great. He has worse stats. I believe Haskell's 125. So he's more expensive than Haskell and Hanover, but he is, stat-wise, he looks worse. Doralia is fairly cheap. She's got an interesting range profile. Terra melee. The range is quite nice, though. And then Jelson Darok, who has a massive points value. But he's good in melee, surprisingly. He's like as good as... that Gouthie axe, the big old 2-iron axe in the Hexbane Hunters, but he's also got a solid long-range attack. The make or break, though, is their abilities, and sadly, Galen just doesn't have any. That kind of sucks. So I think Galen's just a hard miss. He's just a worse Haskell and Hanover. I just wouldn't bother. But Doralia gets Banishment. On a double, until the end of this fight's activation, add 1 to the damage points allocated to enemy fighters per each hit and critical hit from miss. Oh. Okay, so it takes a double, but her shooting's actually a 2-4-2-5 at 125 points at that range. I just said Asfel's pretty good. Asfel being 130 for 5 points cheaper, getting better range stats. And also, plus 6 wounds. and also a toughness, right? And she is, I think Doralia is almost a must take. If you're playing Order of Azir, you take Doralia. She's also a hero. That's interesting. So she also gains access to some of the cool hero abilities that they have, like the burning. I think it's the burning torch, right? They can do for the brand of the wicked or something. So Doralia is actually really cool for 125. That's a really solid. You are investing doubles a lot, but give her +1 strength with a blessing. 2525 is kind of spicy. Then we have Jensen. So Jensen gets Judgment until the end of this fighter's activation. Missile attack actions enable this fighter score a critical hit on a 5+. That's not so good. Jensen's very expensive, and this as a triple is really expensive too. I'm hoping that the stream hasn't died again. If the stream's died again, I do apologize. I might have to actually fix that. But if chat can confirm it's not dead, I'm getting error messages everywhere. I am having some issues with my provider at the minute, but I'm hoping it's not down. It's still working. So chat can confirm. I think Jelson is a bit naff though. Jelson being like critting is just not good enough. To be fair, on a triple, it's just not good enough. And he's 185. Just take Doralia, right? Way cheaper. The only advantage is that this guy's also good in melee. I don't really care. So if you go down to... Oh, hello. Oh, there they are. Okay. I was like, there's a new ability for Stormcast. There's no mounted Thunderstrike. Well, they're right here. So we have the Paladors. Let's have a look at them. Right. These guys are really interesting. Okay, hang on. These guys are super cheap. They're fast. Movement 8, so they're very fast. Lots of wounds, 28 and 30 wounds respectively. Their attack stats are a bit mid, though. Their attack stats are a little bit mid, which is not ideal. However, for 295 or 245 points, they ain't too bad. These guys are just like little tanks. You can run them up and be tanky, and they've got a triple here. For the rest of the battle round, add the number of friendly fighters with the Thunderstrike Stormcast rune mark that have been taken down, but don't have Beast. I'm glad to put that in there. So you can't just like murderize a whole bunch of Griff Crows. And add it to the fighter's move and attacks characteristic. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, so you could like have a fairly small, like a fairly large, like spammy Stormcast list, like maybe squeeze in like 7. If 6 of them die, you go kind of insane. This is interesting. I like this. It requires a lot of you guys to die for you to get the most use out of it, but it's quite a fun ability. I quite enjoy it. And the Paladors aren't too bad. I wouldn't be surprised if a Palador would appear in a few lists just to have a fast Thunderstrike thing and get across the board and just be a tanky guy. 28 wounds, toughness 6 is nothing to scoff at, especially when you're moving 8. Pinpoint target things you want to die. Go kill them. The Prime is better for that. 245 points is also not that expensive. Doing fine. I'm hoping they would. Moving on to... okay, yeah. I think the stream is having some issues, sadly. But we press on. Hopefully it evens out. So moving on to... We've got some new Vanguard... The camera's all over the place. What's going on here? Come back. There we go. So we have some Vanguard auxiliary stuff. So some Vanguard stuff. We have... I am glad it seems like... Boom, hey Joe, how's it going? So we have some new Vanguard stuff. This is really cool. So we've got Arden Flame Runner, Farsa Twice Risen. Interesting name. I assume she can revive herself. And Yurik Velzane. Stat-wise, Ardon is fine. 4424. 3414 range stack, 190. That's a solid profile. We have Farsa at 155. 5423 is an interesting profile again. 3414 is a solid range profile. Give her +1 crit. She's good to go. Right. +1 crit. Farsa's good to go. And 155 is a solid price point. And then Yurik Velzane is your range guy. 624. That's a weird, weird profile. Hey, Conrad and Phylax, how's it going? So we've got Yurik. So a 624 range profile is crazy good. That's crazy big. I think we tend to get 18. Unless the Arbalister is 24 inches. This could be one of the only 24-inch range attacks in the game. And again, 2424 is a solid range attack. At 190, a little bit expensive. We've seen like this sort of range profile on similar defenses as well, for the record, for like 125. So like, you're paying quite a bit for that. But we'll look at their abilities. So Yurik gets the Quiver of Tricks. Pick one of the following effects. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 12 inches. Subtract 1 from their move cast. Ooh. Okay, so double -1 move. This will be quite good at just hitting annoying people. I haven't seen any of the points drops, but if they've buffed a monster, that's hilarious. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So -1 movement is fine. On a double, that's fine. Or pick an objective within 12 inches. The first time this battle around an enemy fighter ends move action. Oh! Interesting. Okay, so you can sort of like trap an objective. That's a fun ability. That's quite fun. Is it worth taking a Yurik? Probably not. -1 movement's fine. D3 damage on one guy as a trap is kind of fine. It's not massively impactful, but it's kind of fun. I think Yurik's a fun pick. If you're playing Vanguard, I don't see why not. And then we have Farsa. Hello. a 100-point buff. I mean, okay, so I need to look at it in a second, but the Dancold is one of the worst monsters in the game. Okay, I'm just going to point this out. The Dancold is dreadful. Even with a 100-point buff, the Dancold is still probably worse than like Mollog, a Gutlord, a Former Red Crusher. That's kind of weird. I would need to look at the Dispossess as well. I haven't gotten the points yet, but when I get to them, I am sure I'll be surprised, especially with Dispossessed points drops are weird, and also 100 points on the Dancold. As well, bear in mind, monsters are banned in most places anyway, so the Dancold changes aren't important. And also, the Dancold is dreadful still. I think it would be at like 280 points, I think, with a 100-point reduction. I still think he's worse than anything else you could take in Destruction. At his points level, which is comical. Largely because monsters bracket. He does have access to Dragon Maul, of course, which is a very powerful ability, but his actual stats aren't that great. So, Farsa Twice Risen. Yeah. If they have buffed Dispossessed, I have some words on that. But I'll see how bad they are. So, Farsa Twice Risen. Your duty remains undone, Farasa. Pick a friendly fighter. So, pick Farasa, right? So, if she... Hang on. What? Okay. This ability just can't work. They've messed up the rune mark. I think Arden is meant to be the hero rune mark, because if you're dead, you can't use an ability, right? What? So you revive. If she's dead, she revives, but only on a triple. However, she can't do it because she's dead. So this is a rune mark error. So clearly, this should be a hero rune mark on this ability to revive Farasa. Yeah, so it makes sense once you factor it in. I suspect that's just, again, rune marks often have an issue. They do look almost identical. Like, I'm not surprised Games Workshop trip over their own stupid system, but they have again. So the assumption that Arden can revive Farasa, on that assumption, Farasa is insane. The fact you can revive a Stormcast, so more than 6 inches from all enemy fighters, anywhere on the battlefield, by the looks of it. Yeah. Right, so you roll dice equal to the number of the value of the triple. For every 3+, you heal. Remove a number of damage points allocated to that fight equal to the number of So you can heal up to 6. You revive anywhere on the battlefield. It's a reviving Stormcast. We haven't had that. That's really cool. And Farasa's already pretty good, right? Like, 5, 4, 2, 3, or 2, 4 with a blessing. She's a pretty good blender at a good price who can revive with a range attack. I think Arden and Farasa are actually pretty fun. And as Vanguard auxiliaries, they are I think they're quite interesting. Goblin Twink, I miss Warcry. I haven't played it in a hot minute. Well, you can now. There's so much to do. So much new stuff being added. We have even more. Seraphon. Crowjax is here. My god. So Crowjax, 4535. 240 is expensive for that, though. T5, moving 4, 30 wounds. Nice and durable. And then some like Saurus Guard equivalents. 4424, 1 inch. 4424, 2 inches. 140, 150. Okay points for that. I'm kind of digging that. In terms of abilities, they have Sotex Venomites. If not enemy fighter has a Venom token, pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 and give them a token until the end of the battle. While the enemy fighter has a token, if a melee attack action that targets the enemy scores any critical hits, allocate an additional D3 damage. Ooh, wow. And if that guy dies, then the token goes as well. So basically, pick a guy on a double, and all your crits do D3 more damage. So that's kind of spicy. I like that. These guys have got a lot of attacks coming out as well. Like, 4 attacks. They're hitting many dice. The odds of critting are quite high. And also, anyone who crits in melee, not just them, right? Not just the Crowjax lads. Anyone who crits within Seraphon or outside of Seraphon do more crit damage. That's really good. That's really fun. That's a very it's like a lesser version of what's his name, Headcracker in Destruction. That's a really fun ability. I like that a lot. And again, with counter being nerfed, these little 4 attack profiles, right? They're not getting killed by counter as much. Dedicated Guardian. Until the end of the battle round, friendly fighters with a hero rune mark and the Jaws of Itzel cannot be targeted. Ooh, a bodyguard. Okay, so Crowjax being 240 now makes sense. So Crowjax is tough, T5, 30 wounds. He's fast, moving 4. 4535 is a good profile. It's quite expensive for the profile, though. You can make him untargetable. So he can just be immortal, right? You now have he now has 36 wounds, potentially. Or even more, because you have 2 of these guys. So Sokar and Rotak, making Crowjax untargetable is insane. That's really interesting. I like that a lot. And then we have the Sun-Blooded Quickening. Until the start of the next fighter's activation, add Ooh. Okay. This is big one. Until the start of the next fighter's activation, add 3 to the move characteristic of visible friendly fighters with a Seraphon rune mark that aren't mounted or have fly. Okay, that's fair. If they start their activation within 6. So not the action. So why you've got to be, if you start an action within range, you get the buff. No, if you start your activation within range of this, you get the +3 until the end of the turn. That's kind of crazy. This almost fixes the biggest issue in Seraphon. That's mobility. So the issue is that their best mobility trick is a triple on Kixie Taka to give them all +1 move. That's not enough. So your Croxago have a very limited threat range. This making them movement 7, that's quite a big buff. Your whole warband goes really quickly. Your Skink's got a movement 9, right? Like, that's kind of insane. It's a quad, though. It's a quad. So that's interesting. So if you were to take Kixie Taka and Crowjax, you would have Kixie Taka on the turns you don't have a quad to get +1 move, and the turns where you have the quad, you've got Crowjax to make everyone faster. That could be a way to fix the Seraphon issue of movement. Hilariously, though, the Slan doesn't get this buff. The Slan is locked at movement 4 because of Slan flies, which I find quite funny. Really fun. I really like Crowjax lads. I like them all. Stat-wise, they're really fun. Ability-wise, they're great. These are Maybe not like as must takes as Kixie Taka, but there's a lot of fun to be had here. A lot of competitive nuance that could come out, especially with that bodyguard ability. So very, very funky. Idneth get two models as well, apparently, with Icon of the Sea and Icon of the Storm. Stat wise, Icon of the Sea is kind of funky 3/5, 3/4. I really like that actually. Ranged, he's also cheap to 180 or 5425. They haven't removed the old cold ones yet. No, Grumpy Card. Old cold ones are still there. Not like the slan needs increased move. Yeah, that's true. Also, the slan's old. I don't think that guy's got quick split at all. Okay, so out of the two, Icon of the Storm works now because count has been reduced and removed. They're moving 6. That's important to note. My immediate thought here, Icon of the Sea is incredible. So, Idneth don't have great hero options outside of their Bladeborn, right? And the Kellion King. So, Icon of the Sea is fairly cheap. He's fast. Has fly. Just notice that they've got fly as well. 20 wounds is fine. 3/5, 3/4. Bearing in mind, he gains +1 strength on turn 3, +1 move on turn 1 and turn 2. So he's a 3/6, 3/4 on that. He also has access to on turn 3 High Tide for +1 attack, +1 strength. So he's actually on turn 3 a 4/7, 3/4. But he's also going to bless him with +1 attack, obviously. So he's actually a 5/7, 3/4 on turn 4. And not quite as good before that. But even then, though, right, a 4/5, 3/4 with fly movement 7 and range 2 is really fun at 180. Ability-wise, for the rest of the battle round, each time a friendly fighter with Idneth you can rune mark within 6 makes a move action. Jesus! Okay, so Idneth, my god. Okay, so Idneth are fast. They are crazy fast. Their movement 6 or 7 on their infantry, and movement 10 to 13, I think, on their flying stuff. Because of their battle trait. +1 move on turn 1, turn 2. Giving another +2 move means the Idneth are getting around. They will get where they need to be. They actually they might be the fastest warband in the whole game now. Because on turn 1, turn 2, this is a +3 buff. Right? They're going to movement 8, movement 9. Right? It doesn't have a fly restriction. All their flying guys go faster. And they're already the fastest things in the goddamn game. That's incredible. And the guy's good in combat. And it buffs him as well. He goes to movement 9. Again on turn 1, turn 2. So that's with fly. Jesus, okay. I'm not saying this will fix Idneth. More needs to be done to Idneth to fix Idneth. However, this is a really fun addition to Idneth. This really plays into their hyper-fast, mobility-centric, wait till turn 3 kaboom style. And his attack profile really plays on that too. The Icon of the Storm, Whirlpool's Fury. For the rest of the battle round, visible enemy fighters within 3 inches cannot make disengage actions. So it's a net, kind of. In addition, subtract 1 from damage points allocated to friendly fighters. Ooh. Okay. Not crits though. Interesting. So this guy makes it. So Icon of the Sea makes you go faster. Icon of the Storm keeps guys alive. Making it so no one can disengage within 3 inches is interesting. It takes a bit of setup if you want to like really get as many guys as possible locked down, I guess. But making all your guys hard to kill against like 2/4 mid range, that's quite substantial. Against most other things, that's less substantial. Of the two, I think they're both interesting. I think they're both quite fun. But I think Icon of the Sea is where the source really lies. It's his profile, right? The progressive and permanent buffs that the Idneth have are so substantial that Icon of the Sea kind of pops off. Yeah, so do I, Goblin. They are kind of funky. Icon of the Sea might be one of the only takeable Idneth non-Bladeborn heroes. Really fun. Have you popped out to do the stream in your lunch break? Nah, man, I've took the whole day off. I've took the whole day off. I saw it. I left work I handed him a resignation, and I slapped him this stream straight away. In reality, though, I had nothing. I wasn't at work today, and this just so happened to drop. So some sort of providence, I'm sure. So yeah, really fun. Icon of the Sea, big winner for me as an Inoth player. Big fan. We get a change to Nurgle Mortals specifically, so they're double spurting mucus. This replaces Virulent Discharge. Okay, so this is a full-on ability change to spurting mucus. Until the end of the battle round, each time a fighter is allocated a damage point by a melee attack action, roll a dice. On a 3+... Ooh, chat. This is spicy. So if you take it, every point of damage you take, roll a dice. On a 3+, do the damage back. Wow. Okay. So on a double. Okay, so this weaponizes the biggest strength of Rotbringers, which is their wounds. These guys have like 20, 25 wounds, right? They are incredibly durable and not that expensive. Their attack stats are a bit low, but their defenses are insane. You running a guy into combat, bapping them, and then spurting and mucusing, this forces two things. One, they will not attack you. If they attack you, you will hurt them, and they won't like that. Two, they will run away from you. They'll disengage and not attack you. And that has benefits too, right? This forces your opponent to deal with your guy. It's not a reaction or anything like that. So you can do all your stuff, have this active, and then they have to deal with you. Incredible. Important to note, you stop taking damage points. You stop allocating damage points to yourself once you hit the point you are dead. But bearing in mind, again, you guys have 25 wounds, right? If a Vexmore slams you for like 25 damage, you're going to do about like 18 damage back to him, right? This is wild. This is actually incredible. Will it actually do damage is the question, because again, people can just choose not to attack you, but then you're putting that pressure on your opponent to decide. And if you're standing on an objective and you're holding the objective, if they want to take the objective off you, they have to kill you, right? So that means they're walking into this. That's really good. That is an insane ability. Wow. On a double as well. That's actually incredible. That has, as a cheap throwaway, throw that out and your opponent can just have fun dealing with it. This is a no thought, throw it out, have fun ability. Jesus, that's really good. Skaven has... fuck off, Skaven. Ugh. Skaven have so many options. They've now got more options. Jesus Christ. Very expensive options, though. This guy is... So, Zicket Rockno is incredibly expensive for that profile. The Doom Wheel equivalent is expensive, but 3634, 20 wounds, 8 movement is actually really good. It's also not mounted, so he's not slowed by terrain. That's actually a really fun profile. I can see that working really well. Crit attack, 4313, Niche Singe Snout. I like the range attack. 2423, little flamethrower, pretty solid. 100 points though, Jesus Christ. And then we have Tick Tick. 1111 1111. That might be the worst attack in the game. I speak Nigglies. So Tick Tick, I think, has the worst attack profile in the game at 11111. And also is made of paper. So toughness 2, 4 wounds, and is incredibly expensive. At 75 points, insanely expensive. But I assume he has an amazing ability to make up for that. He is a rat with a bomb. I expect you send him out to blow up, right? I assume that's what's going to happen. Let's have a look. So they all get Tunnel Skitter. Pick a point within 9 inches and then teleport. As long as you are within 1 inch of that point and more than 5 from enemy fighters. Insane. Again, I mentioned earlier, any teleport is good. Teleports on a double are really good. This does have a restriction on how far you can actually teleport, and an enemy restriction teleport. But being able to get around to, it's basically what you're within 1 inch of the teleport. So you get a 10-inch move for free. That's really good. That has loads of utility. That's incredible. And they can all do it. So I can see why they're so expensive right off the bat. They can teleport. That's really good. Double tick tick tick. If your tick tick is taken down and is listed on your warband roster, set up a friendly tick tick within 1 inch of this fighter. That tick tick cannot move this turn. A revive on a double is only healing at 4. That's a full revive on a double. That's incredible. I like they made sure to say as well, if you have it, if tick tick's on your roster as well, you can't. it's weirdly worded, but it means you can't just revive a tick tick if you don't have tick tick in your list. I'm looking forward to it. Another double, kaboom. Also as well, this we can revive. So you can revive tick tick. Is it even a revive? It's not a revive. Tick tick comes back with full actions. That's not a revive. That's like a split from Zinch. So tick tick can revive and still do things. It can activate. Important for kaboom. So you can revive tick tick next to an enemy, then kaboom tick tick on tick tick's turn. Allocate D3 damage points to each enemy fight within 3 inches. Incredible. And gain a wild dice. Insane. What? That is insane. A 3-inch guaranteed damage boom. You roll 1d3 as well, by the way. So you roll 1d3, and that's the damage everyone takes within 3 inches. You gain a wild dice in addition, and you can revive tick tick and do it again on the same turn, potentially. That's incredible. So, 3 triples. Here's the play. Move tick tick in. Explode. Okay? Next activation. Take anyone else. Revive tick tick. Tick tick activates afterwards. Explode again. Gain 2 wild dice. Do 2d3 damage to everything within 3 inches. Yeah, everyone. Wow. Okay, for 75 points, tick tick's awful stat-wise. With all of this factored in, tick tick is incredible. The best revive in the game, like low key, best, like, double revive, full heal, insane. You can also give tick tick like +4 wounds on a blessing for fun. He goes to like 90 points, but he's also twice as hard to kill, so he's a bit more annoying to deal. He's also moving 6 as well, so for objective he's great. So tick tick's incredible, confirmed. Vroom. This is for the Doom wheel. I don't like Skaven. They've got too many cool things. I'm changing my mind. Skaven are getting pretty cool now. In a way that I really enjoy. This is a really fun warband. So Vroom. If this fighter is within 3 inches of a battlefield edge, remove this fighter from the battlefield. Then roll a dice. Then set them up on the battlefield within 3 inches of the battlefield edge and more than X from all enemy fighters, where X is equal to the roll. Wow. Okay. That's another teleport with less restrictions. You can teleport to any battlefield edge. Well, okay. On a guy, that's a 3-6-3-4. That triple's kind of wild. He's also fast. And he's durable. Wow, that's a really good ability. That gets you around. This whole warband just gets around. You can just go and just mess with objectives, teleport around, just do your move. Like, theoretically, a 10-inch teleport on Tunnel Scritter followed by a 12-inch move is a 22-inch movement range on everybody. And also as well, the Doom Wheel can also Tunnel Scritter. So he can do that too. But he's also then got an even better teleport on a triple. Incredible. Tick Tick will cause Lyme disease, but only to your opponent. That's the D3 right there. That's what it's doing. Then quad, drill the fool form. So only the leader. It's a quad. Pick a visible enemy fight within 1 inch of this fighter and roll 6 dice. For each roll that's equal to or less than the value of this ability, allocate 1 damage point. Hang on. I need to use this again. Okay. Roll 6 dice. So always 6 dice. For each roll that is equal to or less than the value, allocate 1 damage point. so higher the better. Subtract 1 from the value ability and roll those dice again. Oh, baby. Keep rolling this way until the value of the ability is 0 or none of the dice rolled are equal. Wow. Okay. If you have a quad 6, you are doing a flat 6 damage. Then you're rolling 5 dice. And then you're doing probably 5 damage. Then you're rolling 4 dice. Then you're doing like... Fucking hell. Equals... So you then... Yeah. Wow. This will stack up. As a quad, this is really good. You pick a guy and you just put a hole through them. High enough quad, this pops off. I'm going to say it. This whole pack is takeable. As expensive as Zicket Rocknor is, 2424 is a fine profile. You can put a Storm Vermin next to him, make him untargetable. He's practically unkillable. Crit Attack is like, and Niche Singe now are like probably the biggest misses here. However, you can still take them. You can still use teleport. You can still revive Tick Tick, and that's really important. That range attack's really good on Niche Singe Snout. Important thing I just realized, they made Tick Tick 75 points, so you can't revive him with the battle trait. That's hilarious. Yeah, and if you roll a 16 start engaged, that's really cool. That triple's really good. You can just teleport into a guy and go, "Hi, bro," and just run them over with your. Let's be fair, we are blessing this guy's +1 attack. That's what we're doing here. We teleport this guy in, 4-6-3-4, just blends through a chaff guy. He's having a good time. Everyone here has a use. Everyone here is pretty good. Tick Tick's incredible. The best case scenario. You have like a Skabic and Tick Tick, and you have objectives doing poison damage with their quads and their doubles, and then you have Tick Tick blowing up, doing more damage. This is Skaven are now the masters of chip flat damage meta, right? In AoE, that's Skaven's new meta, calling it now. Insane. And more again, just to hammer home, Skaven now have, for the record, right? They revive on their battle trait. They revive with Scritch Spike Claw, and they revive their Bomb Rat. They have 3 sources of revives. Bastards. There's a lot of them. Bunch of bastards. Slaves to Darkness. I can't say anything here. Blades of Corn. The Deathbringer. 3534, 180, solid profile. Toughness 5, 26 wounds. That's good. That's good. That's a good profile. Durable. Lots of attacks. Well, lots of strength and the damage is fine. Give this guy a +1 attack or whatever, he's good to go. And the Realm Go. Yeah, Skaven are the best death faction. Skaven have more revives than the entire Death Grand Alliance combined. Let that sink in. Let that sink in for a second. That's insane. And the Velngo. He is a really bad profile, but he has the Priest Rune Mark, and that... Ooh, Priest Rune Mark. Hang on. Brain work. Ooh, Realm Go, right? So the Realm Go, brain working again. Realm Go has a pull that isn't listed here. He's the big guy, the Slaughter Priest. He has the Slaughter Priest Rune Mark. This guy has a pull and Blood Boil. Really good pull, really good damage ability, and he has his own ability here as well. So so the Realm Go, by the way, is now the cheapest pull in the game. At 130, he is cheaper than the Great Bray Shaman. If you want a pull in Chaos, you take this guy if you want to cheap out. That's really, really important to note. Let's look at the Deathbringer. Killer of Kings. What an amazing name. Pick an enemy fighter that allocate any damage points to his activation by any of this fighter's melee attack actions. And roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. On any unmodified roll of a 6, allocate a number of damage points to the enemy fighter equal to their wounds characteristic. What the fuck? Killer of Kings is the first ability that instantly kills something. You die. What the... That's insane. pick an enemy fighter. There's allocate any. So if they've been damaged by you this turn, roll number of dice equal to value of the ability. So let's say we have a triple six. We roll the 6 dice. On any roll of a 6, allocate a number of damage points to that enemy fighter equal to their wounds count. That's an instant kill. And those points cannot be ignored. Wow, that's incredible. It's a bit random, right? But this guy can one-tap a Chimera. He can one-tap anything. That is outstanding. That is so random. On 6 dice, you're likely to roll 1-6. As a Hail Mary, right? The Deathbringer, as a assassin to anything you want dead, at that points level, with those stats at base already, the Deathbringer is hilarious. Wow, that's incredible. Wow. So Deathbringer, really good. Can confirm, I'll be taking a Deathbringer just to try this out. That is, there are times this will not pop off and you'll be sad. There are times where this will kill something that a killer guy who's like twice the cost of the Deathbringer, and you'll be laughing your ass off. Yeah, on a 180-point fighter, was this intentional? Seems like it would be an instant nerf. Honestly, maybe. This does seem incredibly powerful. However, you know, I don't know. It can fail, right? It's a triple that can do nothing. If you spend your triple, which is the one thing you will likely do in a turn, and it does nothing, you're kind of boned. If you've got a 666 lying around, you may have been able to make that into a quad 6 or a rampage, right? So there is an opportunity cost involved by using Killer Kings. But Deathbringer is the real deal. And the Realm Gore as well, with the pull and Blood Boil, kind of real as well. He also has an ability called Desecrating Blood Runes. Pick a terrain feature of the 1 inch of this fighter for the rest of this battle round. If a melee attack action made by a friendly fighter within 3 inches of that terrain feature and has the Blades of Corn Bloodbound wound mark, scores any critical hits, do D3 damage to that target after the attack action is resolved. That's pretty good as well. So terrain in Warcry is very common. It's also huge, really big. So the actual 3-inch bubble of you're taking more crit damage is quite substantial. The Realm Gore, I think, is not necessarily a must take, but puts a very, very strong argument forward for being taken. The pull, the Blood Boil, and this for just more crit damage is great. Bearing in mind as well that Corn Bloodbound have a fairly high attack stat on their chaff. Their chaff are now eating really well. They're having a really fun time with that. So both of these are really powerful additions. The Deathbringer might be game-breaking, though. The Deathbringer will randomly just delete anything you want. That new Dankhold dies to the Deathbringer, right? Kind of wild. And there's more. There's even more things. We have the Demons of Nurgle lads with Phlemus Potbelly and Squat. Love Squat. Slunge, Jesus Christ. Bug-eyed Dripteris and Maggoty Stroog. I can't stomach Nurgle models, but I love their names. They're so funny. Stat wise, very quickly. This guy's great. 160, 4425, 25 wounds, great. Bug-eyed Dripitus, 85 points. Ooh, okay, they're all pretty good. Okay, so they're all sort of like standard Nurgle demon stuff, but they've all got 3 attacks, low strength, and 2 damage. So they're super reliable in that damage. That's really funny. And they're all cheap. Squat though, 2. Love Squat. 55 points. I think if you're playing Nurgle demons, you're always taking a Squat because he's a flying little mosquito. He's great. Ability wise, let's have a look. We have Growing Infections. Give this fighter a cycle counter and roll 8 dice. If the roll is equal to or less than the value of this ability, you gain the ability dice you spend. Oh, it recycles ability dice. That's insanely good. So you could theoretically use 1 double for a whole turn. That's really strong. just as a thing, just being able to use abilities. That's really theoretically is really good. The rest of the ability. For the rest of the battle round, I'd want the critical damage value of this fighter's melee weapons for each cycle counter they have, and they are not discarded. So cycle counters are game wide. So you just grow more power. Your crit just goes up. That's it, right? You vibe. You use a high double and you recycle that double over the course of the turn, and everyone just gains +1 crit, right? Everyone who does it gets +1 crit. So Potbelly is already a 2-5, right? So by the end of the game, he is feasibly looking at being like a 2-7, 2-8 maybe. That's kind of crazy. That crit just goes up, which is a lot of fun. I'll skip squat for now, and I'll go on to this seems to factor in here. So the grand cycle of decay. Each friendly fighter's cycle counts must be given to another friendly fighter on the battlefield. Each fighter may only given the cycle counts at once of each. Okay. So the grand cycle lets you then just move those tokens around. So you could like use one of your lesser guys to like pump up tokens. So for example, Slunge, great example, could just stand at the back and go growing infections, growing infections, and do that a few times. And then on a triple, Flemis could then gain all of those tokens onto himself without having to actually use them. It seems a little bit clunky. I'm not a huge fan of the Grand Cycle Decay on first read, but growing infections I'm a big fan of. That recycling mechanic's really fun, very nergly, and your guys are going to have some pretty wild crits, and that's going to be really fun. And we've got the Sucking Proboscis on Squat. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter to be the target and roll a dice. Allocate a number of damage points to that target equal to the roll. If you roll a 5 or more, you die. I love that. So as a damage, like just flat damage is always good. So you'll be using Squat just to fly in and proboscis something, and then if you die, you die. But doing flat damage, just roll a dice and do, whatever you roll and then die if you roll more than a 5 is great. I love it. Bear in mind, it kills you. The enemy. This isn't Killer of Kings. You don't kill the enemy, you kill yourself. But that's a lot of fun. I think I think that makes Squat a must take. If you're playing Nurgle Demons, you take Squat just for that ability and the fact that he's just a fun little fly guy and he's really, really cheap. I like these guys in theory. I think you'd likely just be taking you'd probably take Flemis Potbelly because his stats are just so good at 160. And you would take the cheaper guys and probably a Squat and then just try and get those doubles flowing as much as you can and start critting like mad, especially on Flemis. I would even give Flemis +1 attack because you want Flemis to basically use Onslaught. Get into combat, use Onslaught, go to 6 attacks and have crit 9 and hope for the best, right? So that's a lot of fun. Replace all instances of Graveguard with Barrowguard. Barrowguard must be on 28mm bases. The White King on Skeletal Steed must also be on an 80mm base. Okay, so a little match play amendment there, pretty fine, and it makes sense. You can't buy a Graveguard anymore, so it does check out. So we have Kato Ezekar, I don't know, Sendra, Aurelius, and a new White Lord on Skeletal Steed. So, is that a new White Lord? I think so, because it's a White King, right? So you've got the White King and the White Lord. They're separate things, I think. So, these look fine, points-wise. 4426 is a standard vampire profile. He doesn't have fly. That's important to note. Most vampires have fly. He doesn't. Sasendra, 5425, 20 wounds, 175. Solid. Aurelius, standard wizard with a fairly good melee profile. What the hell? What's going on there? 4424. And also a standard wizard profile at 135 and 20 wounds. It's kind of wild. Aurelius is kind of wild. And the White Lord and Skeletal Steed, he's tanky. That's what he does. He's got his little execution, his little get more crit damage ability. 3525, it's fine. He's fast-ish. Give him +1 damage maybe. +1 attack. He's probably fine. It looks very fun. Looking at their abilities, we have the Spirit of Guidance. This is usable only by Kado himself. Pick one of the following effects. Add one to the attacks and damage. Ooh. He goes to a 5-5-3-7? Hey, FAQ looking for Defiant. Let's go, boys. So straight off the bat, Kado going to a 5-5-3-7 is kind of wild. It's a quad though, bearing in mind it is a quad. Or add 3 to the move characteristic and gain fly. I mean that's fine. As a quad, it's it's fine, I guess. I can see it doing some work. Kado's fine, I think. As a model, he seems pretty solid as a vampire, and that quad does kind of could potentially pop off. But like Rampage exists, right? Just bless him with like +1 damage, and then just Rampage. You'd probably be better off. Getting fly, going to move from 8 and fly. That aspect's actually quite cool. That could save you games, because you're going 18 inches with fly. You can get around the board. That can do all kinds of cheeky plays. Quite the fan of that. Aurelius gets Arcane Expertise. Pick another visible friendly fighter with the Hallowed Blade rune mark and the hero rune mark. So you have to pick. Oh, they're all heroes. That's important. They're all heroes. So pick anyone in this warband, basically. Within 6 inches. That other fighter can use Rush, Onslaught, or Respite once during their activation this battle round without needing or using any ability dice. That ability. Okay. So glad they added all the Underworld 2nd Edition warbands into their main factions and not as Bladeborn fighters. Oh, did they? I completely missed that, and that I assume that's intentional and not a mistake. I missed that. That's actually a really good point. Really good point. Yeah, so the Bladeborn fighters have all been added are actually just part of the faction. They're not actually Bladeborn. Interesting. That doesn't actually apply all that much to the Kados lads. They actually all have hero, so you can take them all. Well, you can take 2 of them outside of Soulblight, but it's kind of wild. Arcane Expertise is also wild. So on a triple, so that ability does not count towards the number of abilities. Wow, okay. So you can like have Kado, who's already kind of good, or Sasendra is also pretty good. Just onslaughting twice in 1 turn. There's a tempo issue here, because you could die before you make use of it. But you could also do like onslaught for free Rampage. That requires a triple and a quad, but you can do that, right? It's possible. There's some weird combos there. I quite like that as a concept. And I believe Aurelius can also revive undead, being a mystic, right? So he or she or whatever it is also a necromancer. They can revive the undead. And then Graceful Killer. This is for Sasendra. Pick an enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter. Place this fighter within 1 inch of the enemy fighter. Okay, so you teleport 3 inches. That's fine. After this fighter's final actions activation, pick a point within 3 inches of this fighter and place them as near as possible at that point and more than 1 inches away. Games Workshop. What kind of fucking word is that? Place this fighter as near as possible to that point and more than 1 inch from... That's stupid. You could pick impassable terrain and fucking like weirdly game that in a way that you teleport to the further than you should be. Teleport further than you should be. All that aside, end wording aside, being a bit like not Warcry's, that's a really good ability. On a triple, teleport to a guy, attack 10 times and teleport away is hilarious. And Sasendra is very takeable. 175, 5425 is a very nice profile. For that price, with that teleport, that is rather wild. I am a huge fan of Sasendra. Kado, hit or miss. Kado's competing with other Bladeborn vampires who are really good. And frankly, these are all competing with really good Bladeborn. I don't think they quite match up to the Bladeborn we have access to currently in Soulblight. Not that they're officially Bladeborn, I guess, now. But Sasendra in particular is probably the big winner here for me. Really, really solid. And I guess Aurelius might have some weird play too. specifically having 2 triples and like arcane expertising Cassandra to get a free onslaught off, and then getting 12 attacks is quite fun. But still. Wait, so it'll be impossible to add fighters from Bladeborn as allies? It would appear so, unless... Let's try and find some old Bladeborn around here. I don't even know. Like, you could be right that these are not Bladeborn, because they don't have any of the Bladeborn wordings. I wonder if that's intentional or not. I think rules as written, these are not actually Bladeborn. Which is very interesting, and we'll see how that affects the game going forward. There's been a few little niggly issues in this FAQ. I think overall, like, if you take it as a whole, so far, it's been really cool. There's been a lot of really cool additions with a few niggling little issues that are like, you know, these aren't really Bladeborn, right? So there is that. Nighthaunt, get a new guy, as do Fleshy Courts. We're still going. This is a big fact. There's 34 pages. We're on page 19. This is a huge document. Lord Vitriolic, 140, very cheap. Okay, terrible attack stats. Moving 8 and fly, though. 25 wounds, pretty durable. So the ability really had to carry this guy. Spectral Alchemy. Pick a visible enemy fighter that was allocate any damage points by this fighter's missile attack action. Missile attack action is activation to be the target. Add 1 to the damage points allocated by each hit from melee attack actions made by other Nighthaunt for the rest of it. That's kind of spicy. I don't think it's good enough. I don't think Nighthaunt care. Like, to be brutally honest, I don't think Nighthaunt care. The guy's cheap. He's a cheap revive. That's quite nice. But frankly, I don't think Nighthaunt care. The things that Nighthaunt do damage with, they're looking to do damage with Frightful Touch, also a triple. Or they already have great attack stats. For example, the Wielder of the Blade. I don't think this actually does anything for Nighthaunt at all. As a cheap hero, as a cheap ally for the Nighthaunt Revive, maybe. In Nighthaunt itself, not so much. Doesn't seem impactful enough to me. Then we have High Falconer Felgrin. Is this the first time this has ever been done? This guy's not Bladeborn, obviously. But High Falconer Felgrin can only be included once in your warband. Right? As a model, just added to the game. Interestingly enough as well, thinking about the whole... Okay, they also did it here. They did here as well, actually, so it's not a first. They've sort of like added Bladeborn, but with this little clause, so you can't take named people more than once. That's fine. So we've got High Falconer Felgrin. 160, which is quite expensive for the low defensive stats. 3424 is not great, and 2312 is also not great. Ability is really what we're looking at here. Eye Shred. Pick an invisible enemy fighter that was allocated any damage points since activation by any of this fighter's missile attack actions to be the target. Give that target a gripe token. That target cannot score critical hits for the rest of the battle round while they have that token. Hit rolls that would be critical hits score hits, and instead, if any damage points allocated to a fighter with a gripe token would be removed, remove the gripe token instead. There can... Ooh. I need... Yeah, Josh, maybe. Maybe. There could be transferring or changing how Bladeborn work going forward. That's very true. I need to look at these points changes. I'm getting there. But they've also done weird things with the Muteless Vortex Beast. That's kind of weird, not going to lie. Eye Shred's really interesting, actually. So the fact that if you do damage to a lad, for the rest of the game, they can't crit. That is actually a really interesting counter to a fair few things. big titans, right, from Red Crushers, that 4 damage is good. They want those 8 damage hits, right? They want that crit. The crit's where all the damage is, right? Vexmore wants those crits. The Arbalista, Quiet Park, everything wants to get those crits to really spike that damage, right? Especially when as minimum damage goes up, like basically your crit damage starts to double, right? So you get that 5, 10, the 4, 8, the 3, 6. If you're basically halving their damage output for the rest of the game, pit a guy, gouge their eyes out, they're done. And the only way to remove it is to be dead or to heal, which is usually a triple, right? Spend a triple to heal your eyes, but don't gain any benefits of the heal itself, right? The actual healing itself is cancelled out to remove the token. And then you can use it again. They could heal, then you could throw out the token again and then gouge their eyes out again. You only have one guy's eyes gouged at a time. But High Falconer Felgrin is actually a really interesting tech piece. And if I recall correctly, I'll double check that. You're right. It's to the end of the battle round. I missed that. My apologies. It's still the end of the battle round, right? But you're nerfing a guy to the end of the battle round, and the only way of cancelling that is to heal, and heals are fairly uncommon and not that great. So suddenly, Eye Shred's pretty good at just shutting down one guy. Also, I believe the Trapper rune mark is the one that allows him to teleport. I am going to break the rules again and go to Warcry. And I'm going to quickly type in Flesh Courts. I believe that's the teleport ability on a double. Yep, it is. The Winds of Shaiish. So this guy is actually really solid. Really, really good. Back to full screen. Thank you. So for 160, this guy can pick himself and another guy and just teleport and have a good time. And also he can shred people's eyes out. So he's mobile. He has utility with the rest of your warband, and he can also prevent people from doing crits with, I believe, all their attack actions. So you can also tag Arbalisters and make those Arbalisters wet noodles, comparatively. So really fun. I think the Lord Vitriol's a bit of a miss for Nighthaunt, but the High Falconer is actually, I think, has some legitimate play. There. We have some new goblins. So we got the Snarlfang Riders. Last time we now have the Snarl Pack and the Snarl Pack boss, and these guys are expensive, but their damage is really fun. So 280. This guy is the equivalent of a Varangard. And he's almost as... I think it's actually better than some of the Varangard profiles, right? This is a Goblin Varangard with better than Varangard stats. So, 4534, 2-inch range is a solid profile. Really, you just give this guy +1 crit, he's good to go, right? Movement 8, mounted, toughness 5, he's durable, 28 wounds, he's durable, 280 is very reasonable, right? I'm a big fan of this. And of course, you've got access to things like sneaky stabbing and get +1 attack, +1 strength when needed. Goblins like this guy a lot. I think the Snarl Pack boss is a really fun cavalry pick for all of destruction, but especially goblins. And the cavalry themselves, they save 50 points. They only lose 3 wounds and attack. So if you wanted a cheap Snarl Pack boss, you could just bless this guy with +1 attack. It'll go at 260, and he has the same profile. Really solid. They also gain Slavering Draws. A fighter can use this ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by this activation, which is very doable. You're a 4-5-3-4. Very doable. This fighter can make a bonus move action. If that action ends within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, add 1 to the toughness characteristic to this fighter. Ooh. Okay. Get a kill, then get a free move action, then gain +1 toughness. That's kind of wild. So attack, kill, move, attack, toughness buff. Good to go. The Snarl Packs are legit. I think the Snarl Packs are actually legit. The Snarl Fangs were also good, right? I think most people would agree that the snarl fangs are pretty good. The snarl packs are also pretty damn good. For heavy cavalry, these are really solid. They've done goblins good with this edition. Snarl pack might be really cool. Goblin reaction works well. Yeah, it does. That's a great point, Kid Zerag. The goblin reaction has no range on it, right? So you can pick any fighter as long as they can move within range of the enemy. So these guys can be reacted and then launched into combat for free from about 9 inches away from any goblin in your warband. Really, really solid. And when they get there, they're doing work. I've been looking for a reason to grab Snarl Pack, as I love the models. Yeah, they're great models. So if you aren't aware, the Snarl Fangs are like one goblin on a wolf. The Snarl Pack are on bigger wolves, but there's 2 goblins on the back. And they look great. These are... like, chat can correct me if I'm wrong. These are, in terms of raw stats, I believe these are cheaper and better than Varangard. In terms of raw stats. Ability-wise, Varangard have all kinds of really funny abilities that make them, I think, better overall. But for destruction, this is a really solid profile. I can see Snarl Pack being taken. 100%. And then we get Borgit's Beast Grabbers. It's the little troll. It's Uglug. Let's go. So we have our second in-faction troll for Gits in Uglug. Is a 120 20 wound model 340. That's a really good price. So this guy is really solid actually for his price. But let's have a look. So Borgit Wolf Killer. That's great. 444 is a great profile for 140. That's absolutely fine. Rig and Sham. The usual 2 goblins in a trench coat model. Awful melee profile, of course, they're goblins. 10 wounds is fine. 60 points, also fine. Snags, fine. 50 points, nice and cheap. And Hoblin Dreg is also 2 goblins in a... it looks like 2 goblins in a trench coat with a bow. Right, whatever. So if we look at the actual abilities, though, we have Shank Dat Git on a double used by Borgit. If there are no enemy trophies, pick a visible enemy fighter to be the trophy until they are taken down. In addition, add 2 to the attack's characteristics of melee attack actions made by... Whoa! Hold the phone! A double to pick a guy until that guy's dead. And you get +2 attacks for all of these guys attacking them with melee. So realistically, the only thing that really care are actually Borg and Uglug. But like they go to a 6-4-2-4 and a 5-4-2-4 respectively and can still onslaught. And of course, remember, counters nerfed. So you're getting like 14 attacks on Borgit and like 12 attacks on Uglug, and counters not an issue. It's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. Okay, on a double, that's kind of good. Okay, I like that a lot. Then the triple, debate. So anyone can use debate. Pick a friendly fighter with Borgit's Beast Grabber's rune mark hold within 6 inches and visible of a friendly fighter with the Borgits and the hero rune mark to be debate for the rest of the battle round. Enemy fighters visible and within a number of inches equal to debate. Enemy fighters visible to and within a number of inches of debate equal to the highest range characteristic of any melee weapons they have must target. Okay, there we go. It's a taunt, right? You pick a guy, that guy has to be the target. That's actually really solid, right? It just is. You can pick a snags. You can keep your guys alive by going kill that guy instead. It's a triple. It's a bit of a wordy bodyguard ability. Not a huge fan of it. It'll have play, but not massively interesting, honestly. Then we've got Gittish Tactics. Pick an enemy fighter that is visible to this fighter. Allocate a number of damage points to that enemy fighter equal to twice the number of friendly fighters with the Borgit's Beast Grabber's rune mark within 3 inches. If the target is a trophy, allocate a number of damage points to that enemy fighter equal to 4 times the number. What the Jesus? This is pack tactics. If you play World Go Hunters, if you play Royal Beast players, they have this on a triple, right? This is on a quad because it's potentially just better. So you have one, two, three, four, five guys, and you are going to do basically 8 damage, which isn't all that impactful, really, right? 8 damage on a quad. Pit a guy, everyone jumps on them. 8 damage. It's not too bad. That's not too bad. But when you have, your five guys and you're now doing 4 times damage, that's 20 damage. No, that's 16 damage. No, that is 20. That is 20 damage. And that's 10 damage. I can't count. It's 10 damage or 20 damage, right? Basically, based on if they're a trophy. That's really good. If you just pick a lad of Stormcast strength and go, you are now a trophy, and then at some point you set up Gitish tactics and blow that guy up, it's hilarious. Honestly, I think Bogus Beast Grabbers are a lot of fun. Realistically, I don't think you're going to take the whole warband. Even if Gitish tactics is fun, even if the bait has some play, I think the real draw here is Borgit and Uglug with Shank that Git, and that's really solid. Again, bearing in mind, you can use this with Sneaky Stabbing as well, so trophy them up with Sneaky Stabbing, they get +1 strength, +1 attack, you're going to town. Really, really good. This is another example of a really fun addition to Warcry's pseudo Bladeborn lineup, and surely there is more. I thought that was the end. There is even more. We have an addition to the Crew Boys in the Hobgrass Slitter boss, and right off the bat, big fan. I don't know his ability. I don't know his stats. Don't care. This allows you to make finally a full Hobgrot warband. You can now, this is a hero. You can take a Slitter boss and just take Hobgrots, and that is just a build that I am all down for. 4423 is also a really solid profile at 140, 2-inch range as well. This guy's just solid for his points. And then you have his ability. Then you have his ability. Keep your heads down and Scarper lads. Add 1 to the movement and toughness of other Hobgrots, basically. And also Stargrots and Botgrots, I believe, also have that as well. So that's just good. They move faster on a double, and they're harder to kill. I believe Hobgrots are toughness 4 base, so they've got the toughness 3 base, they've got toughness 4, and the Stargrots got a T5. Shank would go to T5. So that's pretty solid. I think you could make a potentially pretty funky Hobgrot centric list, right? With this guy as the leader, you've got your Shank, you've got the lesser bosses who give everyone more attacks. Count has been nerfed. Hobgrots already have a fairly high attack number with a buff as well to buff their attacks up. They've got those bombs for range attacks. It's kind of spicy. I can see this being a really fun list to run. Azaveli, what was the changes to counter? So now it only works if your opponent so if you attack in, counter now works as if any ones are rolled take 2 damage, which is solid. So as opposed to every one you roll is 2 damage, it's only the first one you roll is 2 damage, and then every 2 misses is 1 damage. So in general, you're taking a shit ton lesser damage from counter, which is wild. That's really good. It means counter is just, it's not doing as much damage now. And the factions that have access to a counter-like reaction are now going to be the guys who are going to be the counter, the reaction control, right? Cast-led hosts aren't impacting the slightest. But it just stops people throwing out counter in those throwaway nonsense manners that I think no one particularly likes dealing with. And yes, it does. So this guy, he himself gains +1 movement, +1 toughness. So that's also really good, especially when he's already fairly cheap and fairly killy. Give him +1 crit. He's good to go. And surely we're at the end. We are. So that's the end. I'm going to go over the points in a second, but for the raw additions to the game, just about everything had something worth thinking about and talking about. The changes to counter are wonderful, and the changes to Tyrannic Cohort, Twistwield, Claude's Karanak, Pyregeist, and Riverblades are huge. These are massive quality of life changes to those warbands, And these are some of the worst warbands in the game. If they also have points reductions, that is going to be massive, and we're going to check on that now. So, whoosh. Here we go. So I've been informed by chat a few times. Yes, I believe it is 3 damage maximum, and also it'll do no damage, I believe, as well. If you don't roll a 1, if memory serves, if you don't roll a 1 at all in your attack dice, you do no damage, no matter how many misses you roll. I think you have to roll the 1 to trigger the extra damage from the 2 misses. So you only taking 3 damage at most from a counter, as opposed to, like, you know, the usual 5 or 7, if you may, is a big change. It also really, really helps elves a lot. Changes the counter has me looking at the Lord of Hubris becomes bonkers, I think. Because he ain't down to counter anymore. He is just popping off. Neve Black Talon as well, another massive buff unit. Neve Black Talon will nearly always kill herself over the course of the game because of her 7 or 8 attacks she has. She will no longer die. You will have to kill her the real way. And she's a 30 wound, movement 7 Stormcast murder machine. So good luck killing Neve with those changes. Onto points. This is exciting. So all this new stuff is it's fun to add to the game. Let's see how the game's changed at its core fundamental level. What the fuck are they thinking? Right off the bat, what the fuck is this? So Dispossessed are already one of the most oppressive warbands in the game. Okay? Their Over My Dead Body is absolutely fucking bonkers. And the only reason the faction was remotely balanced was because their models were a bit too expensive. This looks like they've either hit the wrong button and it's supposed to be a points increase, or they forgot to add in a change somewhere in the FAQ to nerf Over My Dead Body. That is a huge mistake, in my opinion. I don't think so. I don't think the change to counter would have resulted in these guys getting buffed, because they're already so oppressive. I think this is actually... I would not be surprised if when the Chaos Dwarfs get released, Dispossessed get another change that either reverses this, or actually has the other half of the change that they've got to put in. I genuinely believe there's another change in here that was not put in by accident, that is a change to their actual ability. Because Over My Dead Body is currently too powerful, and now you can have more dwarfs. -10 on all of their guys means you can take basically an extra dwarf or 2 per warband, and now you are even more oppressive. I am not a fan of that. Dispossessed are already unfun to play against. They are now even more unfun to play against. Not a fan. And I don't buy that count as the reason why. Because they're the only warband that got that benefit. There's other counter controls that didn't get points breaks that substantial. You know what I mean? I think the fix to Over My Dead Body is to reduce the number of models they count as to just to 1 extra as opposed to 2 extra, or to simply make it so only heroes can do it, and then the basic guys can't do it. If the basic guys can't do it, then I'm actually okay with them being this cheap, because their basic guys are pretty bad, and these points are very reasonable if they are that bad. But with full powered Over My Dead Body and these reductions, not a fan. I think that's a big miss. I think there's we've seen a few mistakes in the FAQ already. I think this is another one where there's something missing. This doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit silly. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Let's skedoodle down. So no changes to Oh, there is. I missed one here. Caradon Overloads. They forgot to magenta the whole thing. So Caradon, their Arcanauts are now plus 5 points. This is the second increase, I believe, to Arcanauts. At 60 points, I still think they're too cheap. Arcanauts are still, I think, too cheap. 12 wounds, range attack with 2 shots, and 3 attacks in melee with standard shot. I think they're too good still. But still, getting a plus 5 points increase again means that these guys are vibing. You are likely going to be going down a model, I think. If you're spamming a bunch of Arcanauts in one list, you are going to be losing models on that. KO lists might be getting a little bit smaller. I would have liked to see like another 5 points added there, but it looks like they're taking Caradon really slowly and making very small adjustments to them. And that's, I mean, I can get behind that, I guess. That's fine. So Caradon, slight nerf and justified for sure. Oh my god, Vulcan Flameseekers, they made the Kindle drop 95 points. Oh, my boy, finally. So I absolutely love the Kindle Droth, and I've been shouting from the heavens that the Kindle Droth should be 95 points along with Scale Breakers to give people a reason to take fucking Kindle Droths, and they did it. So I am so happy. So if you're taking all-in faction Flameseekers, taking a single Kindle Droth is not a bad idea. You have your new battle trait, your old battle trait, to revive the Kindle Droth. It's a good revival target. It's a 4/4/2/3. It's really good in combat. You can give it +4 wounds, +1 crit, whatever you want. This thing is really solid at 95 points. I am a huge, huge fan of that change. Ooh, a Slave to Darkness point changes. And you look at that. They did. Oh my god. So I was mentioning Twist Wield and the Riverblades. They're both here. Twist Wield have gotten some pretty substantial points reductions. -10 Swarm Sage. Great. Dryads, -10. Solid. Everything else, -5. I am all for that. This means you will likely be able to squeeze in like an extra guy or a blessing, or to more able to vary which loadouts you take in your lists. This plus their new AoE Boomer ability, Twist Wield, are actually in a really good place now, I think. I would be very interested to see if people can make them work now, because these are some pretty substantial changes. Like every model in the whole warband has been reduced. That is a solid change. Wildercore got a +10, huge increase to their crossbows, so that'll likely take down the all crossbow list, like down a model, which is only good for the game. I'm a big fan of that. And then the Riverblades, massive, massive changes. -15 on the Crest Dancers. Great. These guys are 10 wound glass cannons. At 115, they were untakeable. At 100, very takeable. Very, very good. Seneschal with darts and Warglaive and blades all going down 10. Great. This allows the Riverblades to just take more guys, take more of their fun stuff. With the changes to their dagger throw, like Twist Wield, Riverblades could actually be some pretty decent shit right now. It's been a really good place. I'm really excited to see how people make lists and get these guys to work. They are fast, they have great damage now, and their leaders are way more takeable because they were good but expensive. They're now still expensive, but they're just better because they're cheaper. Always a good thing. On to Chaos. Claws of Karanak. My god. The Hound of Wrath. 150. That is incredible. So the Hound of Wrath has always had the issue of being too expensive for its glass cannon status. And it going down to 150, I believe that's a 40-point reduction from its original points cost when it first came out, roughly. Maybe 50. I don't even know. But it was around about the 190-ish mark, I think. So going down another 20, going to 150, it makes it so much more takeable. Is it arguably too good at 150? Maybe, but it can't be allied out. It's just locked within the Claws of Karanak, and he likely won't take more than one anyway. So, like, let people use their fun toy, right? The Hound of Wrath is a fun unit to use, and now you can use it because it's cheap enough to just splash one in. Awesome. Pack load, -20. Guy's insane now. 5/5/2/5, movement 5, 20 wounds. Great, right? Insane. This guy, give him +1 damage. He's a 5/5/3/5. He's going to blend. Absolutely blend. Really, really good unit now. Blood Whelps going down 15 points to 75 points. Ooh, that's some spice. These guys have 12 wounds in range 3. right? Like these guys are pretty good. So they're nice and cheap now. They were always a bit at 90, they were too expensive, but 75. That's a good price to take them at. And the brutalizers going down 10 just make them takeable. They were untakeable before, they were too expensive. So Claws of Karanak might be good now. The changes to pack tactic, their pack hunter ability is solid because they can all use it now, and they're so much cheaper. You can take a whole extra model or two now. If you used to fill out on blood whelps and pack lords, you can likely take an extra 2 blood whelps, right? So your warbands are bigger now, which is nice and good. And you can fill out on Hounds of Wrath. So you can fill out on more pack lords and have a good time, right? This is a solid change. The Maggotkin, Harbinger of Decay. I believe he's the mounted horse guy, right? He's minus 30, so he's very takeable. The Putrid Blight King is the Blight Lord. I don't know who he is, but he's minus 10. That's pretty solid. Oh, so all of the heroes. Ooh, okay. So basically, the Lord of Plagues, I think, is the big one here. Lord of Plagues is a 3/5/3/5 at 32 wounds, I believe. He's a tanky guy. 3/5/3/5. He's now 10 points cheaper. He's very takeable. I think this is where you would hit if you want to make Rotbringers better. The actual core units are already good. They're so durable you couldn't make them cheaper for that. They're already decently mid-rangey points costed. You couldn't make them cheaper because they're already pretty good for their stats. Where you would hit or improve Nurgle Mortals is by making their heroes better. And they did that. These are all the takeable heroes, and they're all easy to take. Hey, big win. Let's have a look. Blissful One buff. Ooh, don't be saying that. I haven't got that yet. I'm excited though. My Bloodbound list with Deathbringer, Realmgore, and Korgrath. Ooh, Deathbringer, Realmgore, Korgrath, Gore Hulk, and 4 Reavers. Jesus Christ. It's 8 man as well. That's kind of spicy. Firelax, don't be saying these things. My heart for Riverblades. Yes. I wouldn't say too good, but like a Croxigo for Seraphon, he deserves this. I don't know who's that's in relation to. VLS. I think I might have missed something there. I'm a big fan of these nickel changes with their new double as well. I think they're actually in a solid place. They might be takeable. Like they currently don't get used because they're a bit naff. But with these changes, you never know. Skaven, plus 5 points on the Packmaster. That is a targeted fuck you to Skaven right there. So yeah, you can't revive Packmasters now. That's a change I am all for. Fucking Packmasters being revived so they can still whip their fucking ogres. That's been removed. Good. That is a quality of life for everybody, and I don't think any Skaven player is really going to be surprised by that. Big fan of that. And all the Rat Ogres, well, the 2 Rat Ogres going up by 10 points. Also deserved. Rat Ogres are very powerful, and them going up in points means you're going to struggle to fit in all the guys you fit in last time, especially when people tend to also spam out Packmasters. This will hopefully diversify Skaven lists. Skaven lists have largely been the same since the Skaven changes, and hopefully this will force them to do something different. Finally, we're sick of double Rat Ogres, Skaven players. Be creative, damn it. Cyberites, Bliss Brews going up 5 points. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, they're moving 5, and they allow the Slaanesh Cyberites to be a dominant force. Possibly a bit overbearing in some cases. I guess it makes sense, right? Like, they're hitting the chaff there just to keep all their toys nice and cheap, but make their chaff more expensive. It's like an indirect nerf to their big stuff. As a result, Firelaxes. Oh, the Chaos Doggo. Yes. Yeah, the Hound of Wrath being 150. He's probably not too good, but at 150, he's a fun pick at 150. What, like 5'4", 2'4", 18 wounds, movement. I want to say 7. Guy is kind of wild. Not gonna lie. Slaves of Darkness, Chaos Lord minus 30. Chaos Lord's really good. At 180, because he's from memory. Yeah, he's a range 2. 28-ish wounds, 4/4/2/5, I want to say. At 180, that's pretty solid. The Chaos Exalted Champion to 190. Guys are 4534, right? At 190, that's pretty spicy. That's spicy. That's spicy as well. It's some spicier. And then all the Chaos Warriors, the hand weapons, the Great Blades, the halberds, they're all going to around about 100 points. These are 15 wound T5, T6 guys with 3, 4, 2, 4s or 3, 5, 3, 3, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4s based on weapon. That's really solid. Chaos Warriors have always been hard to take because they're too expensive. They are now much more takeable because they are now nice and cheap. And almost missed this, Chaos Chosen, -10. 145. So Chaos Chosen, I have looked at these a lot in the past, and they're good. They're basically Liberators. In terms of stats, right? They're a 3, 5, 3, 4, but without Lethal Tyrants. And they were 5 points more expensive. They're now 5 points cheaper than a Liberator with a Grand Hammer, with the same attack stats and their own little source that Chosen have, with the ability to give everyone +3 attacks. They're kind of crazy, right? Legit, real talk. These are great. Slaves of Darkness going away from Marauder spam and potentially going more mid-range, taking more Chosen, taking the Chaos Lord, right? Like the Chaos, all the Chaos heroes have access to, if I get a kill, I get to move and then attack. Not move or attack, move and then attack. So this Exalted Champion, +1 attack to go to a 5, 5, 3, 4. Or +1 damage on the Chaos Lord to go to a 4, 4, 3, 5, whatever it is. These are really good at doing that. They can blend through things. Get a kill, move, get a kill, right? They're very good at getting 3 kills per turn into squishier things. And bearing in mind, when you factor in that counter is nerfed, again, counter's been nerfed. So there might be a resurgence of elves. Elves aren't going to be dying to themselves anymore, which means if there's potentially more elves to sort of do all this crit fishing, right? Riverblades exist. Idneth might get a resurgence, right? Well, now these Chaos characters can potentially kill 3 of them a turn fairly easily. And these all, as well, become viable replacements to Vexmore. I assume he has. Vexmore's been nerfed. +10 points. So Vexmore's now 190 points blessed. Same price as an Exalted Champion. Vexmore is still likely better at that points cost, honestly, because of the 5/10 profile. But he's also much easier to deal with. He's very one note. The Exalted Champion might actually be a viable replacement. The Chaos Lord is a possible viable replacement. I'm excited. These are some fun changes. I could see myself allying in an Exalted Champion because it's a cool model with a good profile, right? So this is good stuff, really good stuff. And chat. Oh, there's 21 wounds. That's crazy. Yes, if you react twice, you can, yes, as well. Yeah, so Phylax makes a good point here. So another great thing with Chaos Warriors specifically, they're 15 wounds, but they have a reaction to heal. And they heal a flat 3. So assuming you don't die in one hit, because you can't you heal before damage. So if you are at full wounds, you can't heal, there's nothing. Assuming you don't immediately die, you can heal for 3 twice. And just stay alive an ungodly amount of time. It also, as well, funnily enough, if you were to ever be hit by the Greif token by the Flesh Eater Court's Falconer, you can heal that on a reaction. Hey, so there's that as well. So yeah, they're really good. And yes, so yeah, and the Chosen get +3 attacks if they get. So the Chosen put a big bubble of +3 attacks if they get a kill. But it's a quad though, but also +3 attacks is insane. So if you can guarantee you get a kill for the Chosen, your whole warband becomes incredibly murderous. And is bearing in mind as well, if you've killed more than you've lost in Chaos as well, all your abilities are better with their battle trait. So all in faction Chaos might actually have a bit of play and I'm a big fan of potentially just taking a bunch of fucking Chosen. Chosen plus an Exalted Chosen might just be a fun I'm gonna go smash list. Like the closest thing to a Stormcast list that Chaos can make is Chosen, and that's just a fun time. So so chat mentioned this before. The Blissful one got a big buff, and that's a huge buff. Minus 30 points on the Blissful one, going to 225 is a great points cost to be at. This guy's movement 8. He has a 5, I think it's 5 attacks, 6 attacks, strength 4 to 6 damage. He crits for days. He's got an amazing ability set to do even more damage. The Blissful one's incredible, right? And he is also the reason why the Unmade are not likely to be taken, because the Unmade struggle to actually field warbands because the guy was too expensive. He's now 30 points cheaper. You can now field bigger warbands. You can bless this guy more easily. There's all kinds of things you can do. Unmade have nets everywhere. They're also cheap with range 3 everywhere if you wanted it to be. Unmade could actually be walking into the new meta with the changes to the counter as well in a really good spot because they aren't being counter to death. Their guy is cheap. Their main guy is cheaper. It's all good stuff. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually, Zirag. You probably don't... surely that's a miss again. That's a bit silly. You can now do 3 blissful ones and 5 chaff, and oh my god, 3 blissful ones and 5. That's 8-man warband, 3 blissful ones. That's insane. True, you legend. You went there and you've made the list of dreams. I think you'll be right. You might be right there, actually. I think so. I'll check it in a bit. But yeah, if that is the case though, and the token lasts all game, but the effect's only until the end of the round, then you don't want to heal it. You want to have no eyes for the rest of the game and just negate that ability entirely, which seems a bit silly. Escape True Blades, the Cursed Blood, minus 20. Another example, by the way, of Games Workshop letting you use your big cool toy. When you play Close of Karanak, you want to use the big cool werewolf guy. He's awesome. When you play Escape True Blades, you want to use the fucking cool vampire dog. You can now. They are now cheap. Arguably too cheap. At like 160 for a 4-5-2-5 22 wound movement 8. Murder Hobo. That's amazing. That's such a good price at 160. Possibly too good, right? But you can't ally it out, which is fine. So the Escape True Blades have a really fun toy they are encouraged to use. Yay, big fan. Pyregeists, my boys, my babies. Everything has been buffed. Apart from that, so the leader hasn't. The leader was already the deacon was already fairly solid, but the Bale Guard minus 15, massive buff. Flame Wraiths minus 10, massive buff. Torch Wraith minus 5, I'll take it. The whole warband is now just much better. They've got a reaction that Rules has written negates being killed for kill objectives. So you're potentially auto-winning those, potentially. But they've got a reaction now. That's a big win. And everything's cheaper. So now your Bale Guard are now not quite so painful to take. Right? These guys have got good profiles, but they were squishy. At 12 wounds, were down too quickly. At 115, you can sort of more easily stomach that, and you're getting tokens for days, right? You're getting, when your guys die, make a token. Those tokens give you wild dice to do more fun things, right? The engine gets set up much easier now. Big fan of the Pyregeist changes. Yeah, if you keep, potentially if you keep the Greif token, it becomes a once per game ability, and that's terrible. So maybe don't heal that. You make a good point. And finally, for death, we have changes to the Tyrannic cohort. My God, these are huge. My God. So the Tyrannic cohort have gotten massive points changes. Minus 30 to the Centauri, 205. Guy is very takeable. It's also very alliable. taking this guy as an ally becomes kind of wild. The Cyclopteans, -20. These guys are crazy good now. At 145, they were a bit too expensive. Now they're in line with like the Chaos Legionnaire guys, right? In terms of the offensive output and the defenses. Really good. And the Prowlers and the Harpies, -10. Solid. Really, really solid. They've got bigger warbands now. They can take a larger warband. They can take more of their big Cycloptean toys and less of their beasts. They can use their eyes, the Cacatros, more freely. The Centauri's nice and cheap. You really want, in my opinion, you want to keep the Tyrannic cohort all in faction. You can, of course, take a Nighthaunt ally to revive them. That's much more doable now, by the way. But for me, I love Tyrannic cohort battle trait. The battle trait's really fun to use. And this means you can take like an 8-man warband with like 1 Centauri, 4 Cyclopteans, and like 4 Cyclopteans, maybe even 5 Cyclopteans, and like a Prowler or 2, hitting 8-man quite reliably. That's a really fun time. That was just top of the head. That might not be legal, but you get the idea. You can take like more big dudes, right? 4 or 5 Cyclopteans is very doable now. Huge fan of those changes. Even the Harpy, right? The Harpy is kind of fun to use. So at 105, I could be convinced to take 1 Harpy. So Tyrannic cohort, I think, are actually in a really strong place now. With Cacatros being unleashed, untethered, and their points changes, they're in a good place, I think. Maybe not top tier, but we're saying, like, bear in mind that Tyrannic cohort, Skig and True Blades, Claws of Karanak, Pyregeist, these were like D tier, worst in the game, right? I think all these have been elevated. River Blades were a bit higher, but I think all these warbands that were just unplayed and terrible have been elevated heavily, and I'm a big fan of those changes. Looking at the Dankhold Troggoth, -100. I don't think this matters at all, right? The Dankhold is now, it was always the cheapest monster in the game, and he wasn't taken even in when monsters are allowed, because he's terrible. He's awful. And now at -100, he is still not great, right? You only take him for Dragon Maul. And he's not great. He's a monster who can be bracketed, right? So it's just not all that good. Yeah, the Git stuff's really fun. I'm a big fan of the Git stuff. True. So Dankhold, whatever. Monsters are banned in most places, and the places that they aren't banned, I still don't think Dankhold's been taken legitimately. He's a really good model, though. I think, to me, if they just took, right, how you fix Dankhold, keep him at 275, take out monsters, just remove this whole bit here about monster destruction, and replace that with Gloomspite Gits, and let him be a leader for Gloomspite Gits. And then a 275 point Dankhold with all of the monster rules removed, and him just being a 3-6-4-8 profiled 45 wound troll will be fine. I don't think it matters. Right? It's a funny change. I don't know why, but it's comical. We'll take it though. Iron Jaws, big nerfs, not to Iron Jaws themselves, but potentially to Destruction Suit. So plus 10 points and plus 5 points to their brute bosses means they're much harder to fit into your lists, which means you messing is harder to get into your warbands. You are likely to not take brute bosses now and instead just take a Morgok who does the same thing, but Morgok is also more expensive. So you are being funneled towards Morgok because he is such good value. So brute bosses just might not be seen anymore, and that's kind of just what it is. Gutlords, plus 10 points, good. Crushers, plus 10 points, good. These are really good models, and they are, bearing in mind as well, so a Crusher, for the record, is almost as good as a Dankhold. Right? Like, he's got better attack stats, but, like, worse defenses, right? Like, it's why the Dankhold doesn't matter at 275. There's just better stuff in Destruction, even after these nerfs. Gutlord being 300 is fine. Removing the, or at least restricting Gutlord dominance is always a good thing. And the next best thing was always the Crusher. So preemptively hitting the Crusher as well is also a good thing. Bushwhacker and Bushwhacker being nerfed as well means you are not getting a mega cheap chaff unit on the board. and Noblar's going at 50 means that I believe there are... Have they hit Cruel Boys? I'm going to assume they've hit Cruel Boys as well. So we're running out of sub 50 point chaff models, right? So Noblar's being 50 means that they're just more expensive. With, Gut Lords being the primary ogre as well, you're looking at it being more difficult to field lots of bigs, lots of smalls, because your bigs and your smalls are more expensive, which should hopefully pull ogres back in line, because they've been out of line for a long, long time. Oh, baby. I've just seen it. Have you seen all these points reductions? Is this the whole Gits change? The whole warband? Hopper bosses, minus 25. Loon boss on Cave Squig, minus 15. Bounder, minus 15. Shooters, minus 60 point archers. Loon smashers, minus 15. Loon bosses, minus 10. Squig bosses with Nasher Squigs, minus 10. Moon Clan boss, minus 10. Minus 10 spell splatters. The Cave Squigs, minus 5. All their goblins, minus 5. Rabble Rouser, minus 5. So now, all their goblins are 50 points. So it looks like they're trying to get all of these sort of like cheap goblin-esque profiles to 50, right? And Goblins, Gloomspite being at 50 as well is competitive with other things that are now 50. Noblars, for example. I'm going to here we go. Cruel Boys, Potgrot, Stabgrot's 50, right? Yeah, you've got 50 point netters. That's fine. They can't be allied out. It is what it is, right? But 50 point netters, great. Like the Loon Smasher Fanatic at minus 15 is great. People take Loon Smashers as they are currently, but they spend 15 points on blessings for wounds. Well, now we can do that. And it costs you, you're basically getting the same model, but still at a massive discount. So that's great. Shooters at 60, I really like that. Being able to take like one, two, three shooters sprinkled in there for a bit of like range chip to take down like wounded things, I think is a really solid shout. All their big squig hoppers going down substantially in some cases. The Loon Boss and Giant Squig as well now being very takeable at 270. These are great changes. Gits are with the addition of the new Snarl pack, with the addition of Uglug and Wolf Killer, and that whole Bladeborn faction, Gits are in such a good place. I am a massive fan of these changes. Gits have always been on the verge of being fantastic, on the verge of brilliance, but I've never quite made it because they've been too expensive. They didn't need ability changes. Gits had fun, wacky abilities to begin with, and now they have those wacky abilities and an actual warband that can support them. This is huge. Really big fan of this. Yeah, shooter spam is potentially good. Shooter spam could actually be like I want to say like shooter spam is probably good, but is it broken? No, because they're tough. They're toughness 2, 6 wounds with moving 4. So you can have loads of them, but they'll also die to a breeze. So it's but taking 10 shooters at 600 points is actually comical. That is a hilarious amount of shooters. But I think it's also I don't think it's broken. That's the thing. I think like when their range attacks aren't that great and their defenses are so poor, those 10 shooters might all die to a single slan, which is the funny part. But yes, these are so far every change I've been all for, apart from Dispossessed. This is really good for the game, I think. Morgok getting hit as well. I know he's not fully magenta, but he's been a 5 points increase. I think further solidifies my point that they don't want you messing everywhere in destruction. So nerfing the brute bosses means they're pushing you towards Morgok potentially because he's so good, and Morgok is also more expensive. So now you really are paying quite the price to take in those brutes. And if you are taking a brute, you are taking a much worse brute boss. Because Morgok is much better than a brute boss. So, yeah, there's that. Stab grots have been pulled into line. 50 points is where they should be. I believe that is now every single sub 50 point model is now 50 points. We're in a good place there for sure. And that's the end. We're at the end. It's been 2 hours to get through 34 pages of changes. Overall, I am over the moon. This is such a good FAQ. Bearing them, there are mistakes, right? We've spotted some mistakes. We've spotted some weird wording here and there, but let's be fair. For the most part, there are some really good changes here, like changes to rules, counter being fixed, so many additions, so many fun additions, right? Like just whole new mechanics being introduced. Just so much fun stuff here. Reviving Stormcast, again, remember, this should definitely be a hero remark, like remark issues are mistaken in the FAQ, but reviving Stormcast, hilarious. I want to try and find the Greif token just to confirm that it is kind of balked. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So you give the target a Greif token. That target cannot be the target of a Greif token. Yeah, that target cannot score critical hits for the rest of the battle round while they have that token. If any damage points allocated to a fight with the Greif token would be removed, remove the Greif token instead. There cannot be more than one enemy fighter with a friendly Greif token on the battlefield. Okay. Yeah, it looks like Ice Shred is either intended to be until the end of the end of the battle. So when you have it, it's on forever, or it's meant to be removed as well at the end of the battle round. There seems to have been something going wrong here because with the revelation that you can just never heal this and they can never use this ability again, kind of just makes it kind of shite. I'm not gonna lie. So hopefully that gets fixed in a future FAQ. But for the most part, these changes are really solid. The only troublesome change is definitely the Deathbringer. The Deathbringer, Killer of Kings, is as random as it is, and you do require a very high triple to pull it off. The fact that you could just one tap anything in the game is insane. Absolutely bonkers. At 180, you tech this guy into chaos, I think, just all the time. And this guy is a Vexmo replacement. Vexmo is 190 for the record. So Vexmo is 190. Once blessed, you can take a Deathbringer at 180. And he's nowhere near as killy in terms of raw stats, but he's just about as durable. He's decent enough in combat, and he can quite literally one-tap anything. So, wild. Let's look at some chat here. Dispossessed cheaper and you messing more expensive. That is weird. And yeah, Dispossessed being pushed even more into being a platform for allies, I hate it. I genuinely think that they fucked up. I think there's meant to be something in here that changes some of their rules for Dispossessed, because there is no reason why Dispossessed are getting massive points reduction. Minus 10 on all of their guys is insane. That doesn't make sense. There is no universe where that makes sense. And the rest of this update has been so on point, right? Like the changes have been targeted at just troublesome units and making a whole bunch of things that are not perform better, right? Gits, Tricohort, Pyregeist, Clauses, the worst of the worst are being elevated. Dispossessed are like a top tier warband. Why are these guys getting buffs? Especially a heavy buff, right? There has to have been something wrong here. I don't believe this is intentional without additional changes. I just don't. This is going to be an issue. Until we get another update, this is going to be an issue, for sure. Dispossessed are going to be absolutely nightmarish to deal with, and I am not looking forward to that in the slightest. I'd rather mistakes on content than no mistakes. And yes, Philax, 100%. Like, mistakes happen, right? Like, it is what it is. Mistakes happen. So, the odd word mistake or the odd rune mark mess up, right? It's bound to happen. So I would much rather having so much quality content with a couple of mistakes than having no content at all, to be fair. And also the update said there'll be another this year. So another this year, I would assume that'd be the Hellsmiths of Shut coming out. and that also means that there's going to be more. Like I said in my video last month as well, the Chaos Dwarf update should come with another FAQ. So any mistakes in this one should hopefully be ironed out in the next one, and hopefully we'll also get some more changes. I would wish listing time. I would love to see some battle trait reworks. If they put a section, if it was mostly new models and battle trait reworks, that would be beautiful. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm very, very excited. So with when you look at all the new stuff that's been added, right? All the really interesting abilities that are being added with the new like pseudo Bladebone stuff, it makes me excited to see what sort of mechanics they're going to add into Chaos Dwarfs, right? Like the creative juices are clearly flowing within Games Workshop for Warcry, and I'm excited to see what they'll do with a whole new faction. They haven't missed, by the way, with when it comes to factions being added via online updates, they haven't missed. So I'm excited to see how Chaos Dwarfs fare and get quarterly updates. Fingers crossed, right? More regular Warcry updates is always good. The game is officially not dead. You know, fuck the naysayers. It's clearly this is a massive update with more on the horizon. That's not what you would see in a dead game. I was tempted to pick up a Deathbringer just to pit it anyway. As cheesy as this is, it may be fun. Yeah, it is. Like honestly, right? Like the Deathbringer is a lot of fun, right? You're investing your points to kill a guy, and frankly, you know, you would Vex mode does that, right? Sure, it's a different way of applying mass amounts of damage to one target, but that's what we do in Warcry anyway. We roll dice to do mass amounts of damage to one target, and we pay the points for that. And the Deathbringer, you roll up to 6 dice. It's a random amount of dice. You have to do damage to begin with. You can't like move and do it. You have to like move and attack and do damage, and then do this and have a high triple and then still roll a 6. There are so many little things that make it a little bit awkward to pull off. I think it's probably gonna be fine, honestly. And you can definitely play around it, right? If you stand 5 inches away, 6 inches. If you stand 6 inches away from a Deathbringer, you cannot be Killer of Kings. Right? Simple as that. That's the counter. Stand 6 inches away, you cannot be hit. Easy peasy. I am keen to play with Tick Tick. Yeah, Tick Tick's insane. Tick Tick having a not true revive, so he can move Tick Tick, blow Tick Tick up, revive Tick Tick, activate Tick Tick, blow Tick Tick up again, is wild. You could then theoretically, if you had enough doubles, do this over and over again in one turn. Right? The theoretical ideal of having 6 doubles in one turn and blowing Tick Tick up 3 times is very real. Good luck getting 6 doubles, all right? This change probably happened when Satan volunteered to work. Yeah, that was Satan all along, realize, for sure. Time to go through all the comments of past Wild Dice episodes. Phylax, you cheeky lad. Yeah, so we get a lot of comments on Wild Dice, basically complaining about the death of Warcry, and we can we are planning on recording a Wild Dice for the record. We are planning on recording a Wild Dice episode for next week, I believe, or the week after, and you better believe it'll be the smuggest video you've ever fucking seen. Like, I'm already a smug motherfucker. Like, I did a whole video being smug about Chaos Dwarfs reveals. I'm going to do another smug video by myself and then also do a Wild Dice full of smugness. It's going to be amazing. Be prepared for an overload of smug. When we do get videos from the big streamers apologizing for saying it was dead, fucking never. Never. Right? Fucking, what's it called? Discourse miniatures? Parasite. She ain't saying shit. The other guy, Uncle Adam, he might say something, he's more legit, but frankly, like, all the fucking doomsayers within and without the community, I think I've been proven wrong. And for the record, the Wild Dice crew, we've been saying for a while, Warcry ain't dead. Just give it time, and time has been given, and a massive update's appeared with more in the future. We are luminaries. We are never wrong. I feel bad for Games Workshop. They accidentally put effort into this dead game. I know, right? Imagine putting effort into a dead game, but just by accident, right? And paying the money, right? Paying your, actually, like, telling developers by accident, right? To be like, look, make Warcry content, right? Like, put your limited time and resources into making a substantial Warcry update, and then another one immediately afterwards, right? What? That's crazy. And the translation costs, right? Like, this has come out in every language imaginable. That's got a cost as well. They've spent money on this by accident. Absolutely wild. I feel sorry for them. Well, getting a wild dice every time you blow it up help. That's true. Wait, can Crojax cast the double on himself? That's really funny. Oh no. Let's have a look. Probably. Can Crojax cast it on himself? They've done goofed, lads. So, okay. This is another rune mark issue. So, I think this... the warrior rune mark is meant to be the bulwark rune mark. Okay? Because, yes, Crojax, until the end of the round, friendly fighters with the hero rune mark... Are you within... I don't know. Grumpy? Are you within range of yourself? Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I think... Rules as written, I think Crojax breaks the game, frankly. However, I think the intent is it to be a bulwark. Same with how the rune marks on Farasa Thrice Dead or whatever is meant to be a hero rune mark, right? So, yeah. When it comes to clearly broken shit, check with your opponent, check with your TO. Don't just go into this trying to break the game. Like, for example, as well, I mentioned it earlier, for people who weren't there for earlier, immolation breaks the game. So because of how cremation works, cremation does not take you down, right? So how cremate works, so you cremate this fire, you remove the model and you place a token. Well, you just you remove the model and you place a token. You don't actually get taken down. And the only reason why this isn't the game prior to this is because every other Pyre token cremate effect requires a kill. This does not, because you actually die. You cremate yourself before damage is allocated. You are not taken down with immolation. You can absolutely, rules as written, just say to your opponent, on kill missions, I didn't die. You don't score points for taking me down. And that's bullshit. Don't do that. Rules as written, that's completely fine. Actually, like, playing it that way, check with your opponent. That's not intended. That's a mistake, right? There's no way that's intended. Let's not be silly, lads. We are playing good Warcry, and we aren't being dickheads, right? Things like immolation, things like Crojax, you know, let's not be silly. The tournament is called Defiant for a reason, folks. Damn right. Can't believe the internet accidentally did a massive document for a dead game. I know, right? It doesn't say friendly fighters. That's true. I think the weird placement means they put the bulwark rune below and screwed up the editing. Very true. Yeah, true. I think you're on point there. Also, join us at table. Yes. So, as Phylax has just said, if you are able to make Scotland on the 6th and the 7th of September, the Defiant tournament is being hosted in at Tabletop Scotland. And it will have, as Phylax confirmed earlier, the FAQ being legal. So if you want to use all this new cool stuff at probably one of the first events to be able to use the FAQ, that's where you want to be, then buy the tickets down below. I have the actual link, so I will post a link in chat for people to have a gander if you give me just 2 seconds. Somewhere in here. I posted about it earlier. That's not the one. 2 seconds, lads. Where is it? Here we go. So if you want to go to Defiant, the tournament, which is the match play on the 6th of September, there it is. And the narrative on the 7th. Bada bish, bada boosh. There it is. I'll be going. We haven't had confirmation that Off Meta Musings of Off Meta Musings fame and Well Des fame will be there, for he has other things going on. However, he could still be there as well, but I'll be there. Felix will be there. It'll be a good time. So if you want to use the new FAQ, like Felix said as well, the airport is right next to the venue, so you can just fly in, fly out. It's a good time. Then feel free to pop in and have 4 wonderful games with a pack designed by Warcry UK themselves, specifically by the wonderful Badger, who has a rather wonderful pack all set up, which I'll also post here. So if you want to check out the pack, then please do. It's a very fun pack. Bada bish, bada boosh. So, there we go. But yeah, check that out. Come to find, it'll be a good time. And I am so unbelievably excited to play so much of this stuff. I don't know where to start, right? Like, there's just so much stuff here. I don't even know where to start when it comes to testing out stuff in Warcry. For me, it'll likely be something death-related. I am a huge fan of Tyrannic Cohorts. I'm probably one of the only people on Earth who like Tyrannic Cohorts prior to their buff. With their buff, oh, baby. Tyrannics have got me insane. I think Gloomspite Gits are on a trajectory for greatness. Going from like middling success to actual playability is going to be a big thing for Gloomspite. I think that's a big win for them. And I think I accidentally ended on, I think, one of the more interesting abilities in spurting mucus. I want to see how people make Rotbringers now they've had some point breaks on their leaders, and now that spurting mucus exists, right? I want to know exactly how people just murderize or not with this ability. It's such a fun ability. So I'm excited to see how this all pans out. And I'm very excited to do another stream, potentially, when another FAQ drops with the Chaos Dwarfs, because this is the starter, right? This massive, massive document with fucking 10 additional factions added. Huge, is a start. This is the starter to the main event. The main event's still to come, and that's so excited. For me, it's got to be Claws of Karanak. Yes. Almost forgot Claws of Karanak are definitely they're jumping up, right? They're going up. I forgot to mention the Claws of Karanak as well. I mentioned it a few times with other factions. Claws of Karanak have very high attack profiles. Their damage is in the middling, but their attack stat is very high, like 5 attacks, 4 attacks on most things. Counter changes means they are not killing themselves, so they have got an indirect buff thanks to counter. Really, really good. And yeah, Riverblades. I think seeing how those throwing daggers pan out, that's going to be good, right? Those going to 2 damage on throwing daggers and the more expensive stuff being pulled down so you can build more interesting lists. I wouldn't want to just see chaff spam. Just chaff spam is just not my kind of list. I would love to see a few of the crest dancers put in there as well. Maybe a few leaders with the darts. Maybe even, I'm a fan of the glaive. Like +1 damage glaive is quite fun. All these things are all now much more playable. And with their throwing daggers being so much better. Like all these like big old chunky Stormcast Elite Warbands that I'm using currently. I'm not going to have a good time because that toughness, the toughness 5, the toughness 6, toughness 7 on a Stormcast gets negated by a throwing dagger hitting on a 2+ no matter what, right? It's a good time. So I think that's some sauce there. But I believe me and Off Meta have already agreed to get together and do a tier list. So look out for that in the near future. I'm sure Off Meta is grinding away for his own assessment video of the FAQ. I would not be surprised if he drops that today, by the way. That guy works like crazy. He will get that video out immediately. I did a stream because I wanted to talk to people as well. And Phylax, of course, man. We need to support the community. Games Workshop supporting the community. You're supporting the community. Everyone gets support. And I will elevate everyone I possibly can. So I think I'll call it there. It's been a good old, 2.5 hour stream. There was a little bit of a a rumbling at the start when things weren't working. If you came in late, the VOD will be. Off, man, I got a video an hour ago. Love to see. That guy's an absolute legend. I've been rambling for 2 hours. He gets a fucking video out. Yeah, quick as always. How long is this video? That's what I want to know. Let's have a look. If you want a more succinct video, watch Etans. It's 45 minutes and not 2.5 hours. However, that being said, though, the VOD will be around. So if you have missed the stream but want to watch the start of it, the VOD is there. I will also likely be making a video covering key parts of this as well later on. This is more like a first reaction, like a first impression. So I'll likely be doing my own content as well, videos. So if you want to check those out as well, check those out. And I guess I'll leave it there. So thank you to everyone who popped in. The stream looks to have been very successful. A lot of people dropped in. There has been so many comments. It's been great talking to everybody. Be sure to check out the Defiant tournament in September if you want to pop along. And let me know in comments or in DMs on Discord or in any other thing you want to do. Let me know how your testing with the new FAQ goes. And man, it's a good time. It's a good time to be a Warcry fan because this is all new stuff and it's all fucking great. So until next time, lads, ladies, and everyone in between, and